What's up, guys? That Really Gross Guy here. We are back, and today we're going to be talking about the Acolytes, because as you guys I'm sure know by now, the Acolytes are coming back and they're right around the corner. So without further ado, we're going to get in, talk about some of the must-have mods. We'll talk about the mods in general very briefly, but we'll talk about some of the must-have mods and what you do not want to miss when these Acolytes come out. There are going to be there's a significant list of mods that you can grab from these guys. There's going to be very specific mods that you get from very specific Acolytes, so you want to keep that in mind. I do suggest, if you really want to get the finer details of all of this stuff, you can jump on the wiki and check that out. But I don't want to go into it too much, because the Acolytes have come out a few times, and I have also done videos about the Acolytes a number of times, so I want to keep this fairly brief. So without further ado, let's get on into it. So if you don't know, the Acolytes that are coming out are Angst, Mania, Torment, Violence, Malice, and Misery. A few of these are going to come in, and they're going to drop very specific mods. You have a 4% chance of grabbing the rare mod that is designated to each one of these, Acolytes. You have a 22.2% chance of receiving the uncommon mods from these Acolytes, and then lastly, the common mods that they drop will be about a 51.5% chance of them dropping. So you're going to see a lot of these common mods dropping your way, and you'll probably see a handful of these uncommon mods drop your way. But what you're really looking for are the rare mods for sure, especially if you're looking to make a little bit of platinum, but we'll get into some platinum talk in a little bit. So without further ado, let's get in and we will talk about the rare mods. So these rare mods, like I said, are going to have a 4% chance of dropping. There is Pressurized Magazine, dropped by Angst. There is the Nano Applicator, dropped by Mania. Argon Scope, which I believe is a must-have, dropped by Torment. Maiming Strike, which is also a fantastic mod and very highly sought after, is dropped by Violence. And Narrow Barrel is dropped by Malice. So these are all the rare mods. You have a 4% chance of those dropping when you fight those Acolytes. When it comes to uncommon mods, Angst is going to drop Repeater Clip and Spring-Loaded Chamber. Mania is going to drop Embedded Catalyzer and Weeping Wounds. Torment is going to drop Blood Rush and Laser Sight. Violence is going to drop Bladed Rounds and Sharpened Bullets. And Malice is going to drop Guided Ordnance and Targeting Subsystem. Uncommon mods, so you're going to get a number of these as you fight these guys, but they're definitely worth owning. I don't know if you're going to use all of them, but for instance, Angst drops Body Count is a fairly decent common mod that a lot of people tend to use, at least until they get, I believe it's one of the set mods that does this a little bit better, but this Body Count increases your combo duration, which is useful. But, so don't write off these common mods completely. So Angst, like I said, drops Body Count. Mania drops Catalyzer Link. Torment drops Hydraulic Crosshairs. Violence drops Shrapnel Shot. And Malice drops Focused Defense. So, with that said, which ones should you be going after? Well, you definitely want to get your hands on the rare mods if possible. Like I said, I absolutely suggest trying to get your hands on Argon Scope. We'll talk about an easier way to get your hands on Argon Scope in just a moment, but get your hands on Argon Scope, because that increases your critical chance while aiming with a rifle after you land a headshot, which can be absolutely detrimental for sniper rifles and can absolutely be detrimental to a lot of crit-based rifles. The Soma, this is an awesome addition for like the Soma, and a number. There's a lot of crit stuff out there that you could see viable, especially if you have a Riven that turns a weapon into a crit chance based weapon because it has a good crit chance on it, or if it's already an amazing crit chance weapon, you get a Riven with extra crit chance on top of it, and you add Argon Scope, you're going to be seeing red crits like crazy. So a great mod to have. I absolutely think it is absolutely necessary to get. So that is dropped by Torment. Another thing that is dropped by Torment that I think you should absolutely get your hands on is Blood Rush, which is going to give you crit chance with your combo multiplier. We'll see what ends up happening with the new melee 3.0 system, but I think Blood Rush is going to maintain a significant role with your melee weapons. So any melee weapons with good crit chance, this is a great mod for you to have. Next up, Violence is going to drop Maiming Strike, which is highly sought after. Like I said, Slide Attack is going to increase your critical chance by as high as 90%, and this is sought after because you can do some incredible damage with your melee weapons as long as you have this Maiming Strike on. Now, like I said, the other rares are definitely worth it. Narrow Barrel will give you increased accuracy on your shotgun while you're aiming. That can be good for weapons like the Comb, who doesn't have the best spread. The spread is a little bit too much, so you can tighten that spread up for your shotgun and make sure more of those pellets land. Mania will be dropping Nano Applicator, which is going to give you an increase in status chance for your shotgun after you cast an ability. So for a lot of Warframes that have easy cast abilities, let's say Rhino, he could quickly charge and then go into a shotgun and start doing some damage, or he can Iron Skin. There's a number of things that Warframes could do, and the shotgun could severely see a benefit, especially status shotguns, from this mod. So Pressurized Magazine, also pretty decent, especially if you need to deal a significant amount of damage with your pistol in a very short amount of time. Pressurized Magazine will give you an increase in fire rate up to 90% when you reload. So if you had like a bombard standing in front of you and you're just like, oh crap, I need to put a lot of ammo on this dude to drop him, this Pressurized Magazine will help you out with your pistols. So definitely worth it. The only other mod that I kind of want to go over, and like I said, a lot of these do have their uses, is a lot of people ask me about guided ordnance. How do I have guided ordnance? And that is dropped by Malice. The reason why I bring this up is because I have a Glaxion that has a pretty decent Riven. It's pretty good. However, the Glaxion is not the most accurate beam weapon, but when I use guided ordnance, it increases my accuracy on a hit. So then it tightens up that beam, and I can do significant damage, especially headshots, whatever, and I can melt enemies with my Glaxion if I have a guided ordnance. So that's dropped by Malice. Lastly, Misery is an Acolyte. However, what I want to say about Misery is he drops all of the mods, every single one, every single one of these mods, and because of that, there is a lot less of a chance of you getting the mod that you want. So when it comes to Misery, I highly feel like when he shows up, farm him for just hoping you get any of the mods that you missed. Don't farm Misery and expect to get the one single mod that you don't have. Don't expect to get Maiming Strike from Misery or Argon Scope from Misery. Just kind of hope that he gives you some of the mods that you don't have, because your chances of getting an Argon Scope are very, very small by farming Misery. You're way better off farming the Acolyte that specifically drops those mods. So with that said, I think I'm going to leave it there. Other than when it comes to trading, the easiest way, in my opinion, is to get your hands on these mods is to specifically accumulate a number of these mods to sell on Trade Chat and buy your way to these other rares. What I mean by that is I know a number of people that farmed up and owned like a Blood Rush or Guided Ordnance, Bladed Round, whatever. They owned these weapons or these mods, and they sat on like 10 of them, and they're like, oh, I can't get Argon Scope, or I can't get Maiming Strike, and I was like, dude, Blood Rush sells pretty well. It doesn't sell as well as the rares, of course. It doesn't sell as well as the rares. But you could sell like 3 or 4, at least at one point, you could sell 3 or 4 Blood Rush and buy yourself an Argon Scope or a Maiming Strike. I knew at one point the Blood Rush sold for about like 50 platinum. I think it's only gone up from there, maybe closer to 100, because the demand, or there aren't that many left. Because we haven't had the Acolytes in a while. So, you could sell a couple of those for Argon Scope, because Argon Scope at one point was selling for like 200, and then as they got more scarce, the price went up. But if you jump over on Warframe.market, you can find a handful of those, a handful of people trying to sell those, and gain, you know, a couple hundred plat. Very easy. Very easy to just sell off a couple of these other mods that you have accumulated and get the rares that you need. Personally, that's what I am doing. I do have an Argon Scope and a Nano Applicator, and I think I have Narrow Bear. Anyways, so I'm really just going after my last Maiming Strike and Pressurized Magazine, and I'll be selling off all the other stuff that I do not need to get those. So that's my suggestion. But that's going to be it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys again next time. Blah!